Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Business Today TV. I am Chetan Bhutani. Well, electric vehicle revolution is on the cusp in India, and of course, with record number of sales both in two-wheelers and passenger cars, India surely has a bright future in electric vehicles. But in the recent past, some developments have literally troubled the industry. And today, I'm joined by Mr. Sohinder Gill, the DG of SMEV and the CEO of Hero Electric. Thank you, Mr. Gill, for joining us. First of all, addressing the elephant in the room, what is the real issue right now that the industry is facing?
Thank you, Chetan. Well, the issue pertains to the subsidy scheme that started in 2019 called FAME 2. And OEMs have been receiving subsidies under that scheme, which they have already passed on to customers from the government. And one of the target was progressive localization. But unfortunately, due to the COVID and its protocol, the next 2 years were really lost and the supply chain could not come up and market could not grow. The ministry, recognizing that, kept on giving extensions also of the deadlines, as it is normally done, when the targets are difficult to achieve. So everything went well for the 2 years as far as volumes were started to going up despite COVID, and a little bit of supply chain also started happening. Localization was being missed, but being attempted. But after 2 years, in 2022, sometimes in March, due to this attack by a vested interest group, that targeted FAME 2 from the roots, a series of anonymous emails were sent to various people in the government, including the ministry, claiming that there was a collusion or non-compliance of FAME protocols. And unfortunately, the ministry at that time succumbed and stopped the subsidies, pending the examination of allegations, and the entire EV industry slowed down thereafter. Now, that is a turning point where the flexibility and practicality of the problems which were earlier being handled very well became a policy which was cast in stone and being read as a rule book or as a Bible. So that was a very different type of an approach due to this huge barrage of complaints from this group of people who perhaps had the objective of derailing the whole EV mobility.
Okay. So as of today, if you understand, there are two issues pertaining. First is, of course, the alleged misappropriation of the FAME subsidies, and of course, the overpricing complaints by whistleblowers. So with these two issues grappling the industry, what is the way out of this, sir?
See, both these things were earlier being labeled as misrepresentation because either in localization or when you are showing 150,000, but actually it is much more, both are called misrepresentation and on account of that misappropriation. So these are very strong words which may lead to any of those punitive actions also. But lately, there have been a practical approach of not using such words, but actually seeing how do the resolution come. So if I break it into two parts, one is the players who were actively working, and 90% of the industry at those point of time from 2019 to 2022 or 21 mid were suffering from localization only, because that time there was no supply chain. And the players were like Hero, then Okinawa, Ampere, Revolt. These 4 or 5 players were there who were doing 90% of the industry and were facing a lot of challenging of supply chain. But they were getting subsidy due to extension in the deadlines. And suddenly it was stopped. So that is one issue of the 4, 5, 6 people. And then there was another set of premium bike, 4 of them who were making bikes which were on the premium end. They were under invoicing and therefore misrepresenting, and they had already got the subsidy from the government. The difference is the first set of people stopped getting subsidy. So the government owes around 1,200 crores to be paid if it is resolved. In the second set of people, those premium bikes, they kept on getting subsidy, or at least it was kept on being logged onto the NAB portal so that they can get any time. And that subsidy which they had got from the government is being asked back. So these are two different problems. But resolution has started. You have seen in the newspapers for the guys who have underpriced the product and have other issues like localization, small localization, as well as some people have issues of battery being misrepresented. There are some practical solutions being found. Similarly, on the localization side also, I believe that there is an active discussion now with the government to find a similar practical solution rather than thinking again of a cast in stone type of a policy decision, which was in between an intervening period.
So, as SMEV, what are your understanding of what the government is doing? Because when your press release came over, it was very strongly worded, and a lot of miscalculations were done as per that report. So, is the government unable to understand the industry's problems, or is it acting too fast or acting in haste when any kind of allegations or complaints come up?
So certainly, I'm finding a very positive attitude last few months now with a new set of executives, particularly trying to get out of this so-called now the issue is pertaining to 7, 8, 9 players, and it's not such a great problem that it can be sort of it can blow the whole of EV into thin air. Therefore, practicality is being thought of. So this is happening now. Only thing is that for the intervening period of 15 months, there was a black box.
Hmm.
And almost every OEM that time, which was facing those earlier OEMs were facing the localization delay. They were stonewalled from even communicating with the ministry. There was zero communication, etc. So we've come a long way from there for the last few months, and particularly for the last 1 month, we are seeing an accelerated pace of trying to find solutions. I believe that what should have happened around 1 year or 1.5 years back is happening now. A lot
Okay.
of water has flown under the bridge and a lot of losses has happened in the way because we have seen even the targets are nowhere near what we could have done. Against 1.2 million, the industry could do only 700,000. But this is just beginning of the year now, of the FY24. I believe maybe 1 or 2 months are lost in this process and we'll be back on keel now.
Right. So, and as far as the misunderstanding with the government and the industry, has everything cleared out, or you still have some issues pending with the government?
The best part is the practical and flexible approach of looking the limitations on the ground of a policy are now being factored into the discussion, which was earlier not at all there. Like I explained, that it was like a Bible, we have to read it, we have to decipher, it is 0-1 situation. So that is a great change. There, the ministry and the stakeholders are together talking of practical difficulties and how to get out of it.
Okay.
Some of them are very clear and easy. Like if you have misrepresented and shown 150,000 wrong, it is easy solution that, okay, either you give the subsidy back or you give the money back to customers, for example. And that's what is happening today, perhaps. What for?
Also, sir, when the press release came in, it showed that the government's data is wrong, but that data was actually shown in the Parliament of India, and that vehicle sales were actually reported by the government in the Parliament. So, and the SMEV said that no, it's not true. So, who's actually where's actually the lag and what's the gap about?
No, if you go into that statement at that point of time, it has not said that the sales are less. The sales are surely 1 million in 4 years.
Okay.
At that point was saying in 4 years, 1 million was not the country target.
Okay.
It was a target of subsidy support that MHI will support 1 million vehicles. Now, in that, in 1 million, if the subsidy has not even been given to 400,000 vehicles, then and manufacturers have supported that 400,000. So ministry has contributed to only 600,000 or so, or 550,000. That was a statement. So the support of government to create 1 million is yet to be seen because half of it is given by the OEMs and not got back from the government.
Okay.
This was to do with country target, which should have been by now 3 million or so, but the ministry said we have completed 1 million. So we have to see oneness of targets was being talked of, at least now onwards. When we are attempting 30% conversion or 80% conversion, let us talk of one target, not two targets. Like ministry, government, stakeholders have to be having oneness of purpose of reaching that target.
Right. And regarding overpricing complaints, has that also been sorted, or have you been asked certain explanations?
On this 150,000?
The overpricing by the OEMs on Made in India aspect for claiming subsidies.
Well, that is not at all an issue. In fact, if you see those players where the localization is a problem, their product was affordable category less than 80,000 rupees at that point of time, and the premium bikes were 140,000. So at 80,000, even in spite of subsidy, the OEMs were funding out of their deep pockets some losses, and they were all incurring losses. So it is well proven that there was no overpricing in those times of a product which was not fully localized. That's
Okay.
not an issue at all anymore. The issue is the delay in localization, which was being given as an extension, was stopped in between due to all these complaints, is now again being seen practically that yes, there was a problem, there was a COVID. Supply chain was not at all there in those days. So let us see a practical view.
Okay. And how about if I talk as Hero Electric, you and Okinawa have been imposed a penalty upon. What about that, sir? And how do you justify that penalty about?
That is exactly what I was talking, that this complainant, perhaps, who was attempting to topple straight away the EV mobility, was hitting the market leaders at that point of time. I'm
Okay.
thinking 2019 to 2021 period, when there was no supply chain, when COVID came. And at that time, ministry really worked very well with the stakeholders and gave extensions. So this anonymous complainant pointed out that no, extensions are not the rule. The rule should be the FAME policy, and under the FAME policy, you should have localized even if there was a COVID or even if there was no supply chain. So that was such a huge pressure that for some 15 months,
Hmm.
the government succumbed to that pressure. And now they have come out of it. That is what we are saying. Those 4 or 5
Precious 15 months were lost in the
yeah,
during this
totally lost because, and that's why the 1,200 crore never came back and still has not come back.
time.
And that has derailed those 4 players or 5 players totally. Like there was a statement that from 83% share of market of these players, now it has come to 24%. So that is the type of situation of startups or the guys who were founders and worked for 10 years have been brought to knees because of all this, which is happening as a vitiated type of a campaign.
But sir, what about this 249 crore payment amount, that 249 crores penalty amount that is going in various media reports? Are you contemplating to pay, or are you fighting it, or probably asking the government to remove that amount? What is the development that happened?
There is a very active discussion, and we are almost nearing a solution
Okay.
because it's once you look at the certificate extension as a reality, then nothing is to be paid back.
Okay.
Because then everybody was working under the extension of certificate issued by the same ministry and telling that, okay, because of COVID or because of no supply chain, we are giving you extension in localization.
Okay.
So those are the things being now analyzed that, okay, whether under extension of certificate, everything is going done. If it is so, and if there's an agreement, then nothing needs to be paid back. Then it comes to the question of which these OEMs have doled out to customers, which is 1,200 crores.
Hmm.
And government did not pay for 15 months because of the first problem.
Hmm.
Second problem is very easy to solve. The first problem is tricky problem because it is called you have usurped the government money. In second case, the government money has not come to OEMs at all.
So, how much money does the OEMs owe to the government as far as the same subsidy goes?
Yeah, the government owes to the OEMs now around 1,450 crores of that time.
Okay. And the discussions are active, and are you positive that in due course of time the money will be released?
Of course, yes, you have already seen positive things happening. For example, you have seen 6 OEMs totally getting a clean chit, right?
Right.
That is a very good thing. Why, in the first place, I don't know why they were even stuck because they were the ones who were very late entrants in 2022, most of them, when the supply chain was already there. And they had produced only 2,000 in that year, 3,000, hardly anything.
Hmm.
So unnecessarily, we lost time of implicating those 5, 6 people who had almost 3% share of the market only, hardly doing anything, and came coming in the period when everything was available. So that part is gone. Out of 16 or so, 5, 6 are got clean chit. 4 which are under invoicing, misrepresenting, and misappropriating, their solutions have come. They have by their self declaration, now they are declaring that we will pay back to the government, which they have already received. And
Okay.
the third part is the one which is these 4 or 5 guys which had genuine problems of localization those 2 years or so is now being discussed on first level, nothing to be really paid back if you look at certificate extension. And then out of that 1,400 crores, they have to get back that money as OEMs, because after that everybody's all right. Like
But
all,
sir, again coming back to the same point, are you in a reason to believe that certain OEMs did kind of indulge in some misappropriation to get that subsidy benefit?
can you please repeat this?
I'm saying, do you believe that that there are certain OEMs who indulge in some misappropriation of FAME subsidies to get that benefit, extra benefit? Are you of that belief?
See, what is the word misappropriation in a
Uh,
dictionary
the
meaning?
the
Is
meaning, sir,
that
what I perceive it as a policy reporter and as a automotive journalist also means that trying to get some extra funds by tweaking your own norms or tweaking the manufacturing norms. That's all. That's what the common man's understanding would be.
which means if you have taken somebody's money in a clandestine manner,
Hmm.
in a wrong manner, it is a misappropriation under the Indian law.
Right.
Right, very clear if you read Oxford or any dictionary. Under that definition, that 1400 crore is not have been paid at all, and manufacturers have given to the customers.
Hmm.
So there is no question of misappropriation there. The misappropriation could be seen if it is proven that 150,000 of the four players premium bike was a sacrosanct limit of eligibility, but somebody not recognizing that and getting 60,000 rupees subsidy by under invoicing may still come under the cause of misrepresentation or misappropriation. But these are very harsh words for startups like EVs, etc. Why should they be used when there was some sort of a misunderstanding or
But okay, let's not call it misappropriation. But was there any wrongdoings by certain OEMs? Some kind of
tell
wrongdoings?
me, like, for example, if there are two buckets, one is supply chain not there, COVID hitting, and therefore localization was a delay, is certainly not any of the wrongdoing. And it was being represented again and again that these OEMs are not able to localize to the highest of the offices. So there is no way this can be called as taking undue advantage or doing something wrong. So what can be called misrepresenting and misappropriation is out of this issue of localization delays.
Okay, got it. Last question, sir. And do you think that as this industry grows, as we get more used to the electric vehicle revolution ecosystem in India, such complaints will definitely happen. Such anonymous complaints will definitely happen. It will keep happening to topple the industry. It has always happened in the past as well. Do you think that the government should change its mindset and call upon the industry first rather than to start acting on its own?
See, let's first understand that such attempts to topple are short-term gains only and short-term gains only. They cannot be played for long because if EV is such a great thing for the country and it is a broad vision of Prime Minister and everybody, no such vested interest can be realized. So then let there be healthy competition.
Okay.
That's the belief here. So from there, in the future, the learning out of this is one, two, and three. One is at the time of making policy, we should have been much more careful. Even stakeholders who were part of the discussion and the ministry, we should have had the foresight of seeing that what they are saying at that time are impossible to achieve type of targets or guidelines in terms of localization. For example, where was Exide or Bosch or something 2019 making motors for electric or batteries? Nothing at all. So we have to be careful when you make policy of the conditions that can come. More important is policy is not cast in stone. It is a living organism. So when the execution comes, there are blockades, there are roadblocks, there are issues that happen. So those issues have to be practically factored into implementation, not
Right.
0-1 situation. So these are the two great learnings. And third is in the larger objective of such a great thing happening in India, of becoming an EV hub for the world and taking care of air pollution and crude oil conservation. These are small stones which can adversely reverse or such a headwind that can potentially sort of derail the whole industry, which should not be allowed to happen at all. There has to be circumventing, there has to be practicality, there has to be short-term, immediate solutions to any such problem that arise in the future.
Fair enough. So last question, sir. And so how's the industry going performance-wise? What's your outlook as an industry and as one of the biggest OEM players? What's your outlook on the sales and, of course, the near future coming up?
See, great ideas and relevant ideas, particularly for India, electric is one of them.
Okay.
And no amount of opposition from vested interest or those lobby groups can derail it. That is for sure. These are small things that will happen. Learnings have come. Great things are happening now in the ministry, also practical approach. So we are out of it. We have bottomed out. And I think in the next 2 months, it will be a bygone, old history, done and dusted type of a case. And here on, we have to look towards future. The main thing is, does the industry still need some sort of a support to make sure that the customer acquisition cost becomes lower? I personally believe yes, the industry is too much in infancy. It is still a small sapling. It still needs nourishment for a few years so that customers don't suffer. For example, if the subsidy goes away, most of the bikes on the premium end will start costing more than 2 lakh rupees. Who will buy them? So at least for some years, I believe industry needs to come to a level where the conversion is around 20% of the total two-wheeler, which is 16 million today. 20%, 30% of that should be reached before subsidy or support is tapered off, which is given to the customer directly.
Fair enough.
If it is not done, then we will have a big setback. We will have to come back to around 30 to 40% of what we are doing. And then after a few years, perhaps it will set in that, okay, even at 200,000, it makes sense to buy a motorcycle or an electric scooter. It will take time to set in. So let's not do that. Let's not do such retrograde steps to India when so much good is happening.
Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. Gill, for joining us. Pleasure as always to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.